The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Fasamai, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Final open line of the week, because tomorrow we're going to be live at Narcalo for the Royal Manx Agricultural Show. So today's the day if you want to get something off your chest, something you'd like to raise, something that's been burrowing into you, then by all means, you see what I mean? Get in touch, text, email, call and WhatsApp. 8 minutes past 12, talking about crossings, and we were yesterday. Mary dropped a note in. It was about possibly putting a crossing at the bottom of Greenfield Road in Douglas, at the bottom of the College Road as well. I think we need a zebra crossing by Port Jack Chippy at the bottom of Summer Hill. And at the bottom of Summer Hill, and possibly over the electric tram on the prom also. Quite a big road to cross. The trouble is we've got those kind of faux crossings, haven't we, at the moment? I can't believe it's not a zebra crossings on the promenade. A zebra crossing by Port Jack Chippy, I suppose, if you're heading for the chip shop. You do have to skip across, don't you, and keep your wits about you. But anyway, bottom of Summer Hill, you reckon? It is a big road. Thank you, Mary. Good to hear from you. And my son started a business whilst he was in a council flat. Somebody reported him, and he lost the council flat. Now he privately rents. And when COVID came, there was a lot of hardship still recovering. It took him years to get a council flat. So not all businesses make a lot of money, long hours, and some work, weather permitting as well. Interesting. This is all tied in with the fact about large vehicles parking, and some parking outside social housing, outside local authority housing, commissioners' houses, and whether or not it's in the terms of the lease that you can operate a business from a municipal property. I wonder what the story is. And certainly yesterday I got quite a few messages in from people saying, well, what's a business? Lots of people earn more selling on eBay from inside properties than other people do by actually going out to work. So is selling on eBay, and some people make a living out of selling on eBay, is that an actual business? I just wonder what your thoughts are. I've got a company vehicle and I park outside my house, says text to 865. I pick up two other people. If we park the vehicle at our yard, we will be putting 3 extra vehicles on the road, as we would all have to get to the yard. I suppose this has all been brought into sharp focus because cars are bigger than they used to be, aren't they? I was noticed this at the weekend. We did the Radio Caroline weekend in Moorwick Park, and it was a fantastic do. I mean, notwithstanding bits and bobs of the weather, it was and thanks to everybody who brought 1960s vehicles, including a pristine Mini Clubman. But you now see how the Everton footballer Duncan McKenzie used to be able to jump over a minicar. That was one of his party pieces. The Everton footballer used to be able to run and jump over he couldn't jump over a Mini now, but you could then. So cars were a lot smaller then than they are now. The Mini, of course, is nothing like a Mini now. It's big. And as for the Fiat 500, a lot bigger than it used to be. So cars take up more space than they used to. You only have to look in car parks now in multi-stories. Fewer cars can get in because they're bigger for safety reasons. So with bigger vehicles and with more people having motorhomes and more people having big vans, and with more housing estates not having drives and having small gardens, then what do? Where does it lead? I suppose if we have our green future set out in front of us, we'll all be parking company bikes, and of course the point won't be relevant then. Howard's with us now. Hi, Howard.
Good afternoon, Andy. I meant to come on early in the week for this, but Within the last 18 months, the Manx National Heritage, ACA, the museum, and the Nautical Museum, the attachment of it, they were looking, and the suggestion was £5 million to put up a building to house the Peggy. And I noticed this week that the most recent director of the museum, that has now gone up to 6.1 million. And that's only the asking price at the moment, not the finished price. So the Peggy, yes, she is the oldest of her type in the world. She has a lot of historical value. But does that historical value run to 6.1 million? Or as we will know at the end of the day, there won't be much change out of 8 to 9 million. And she's a bit like Trigger's broom. He's had it all these years, but it's had 4 new handles and 3 new heads.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of work being done on the Peggy, and she's up the cool apparently at the moment. But what they want is to be able to erect the masts. Well, there's been tens of thousands of visitors through the museum down at Castletown, and not that I know, people ask, why hasn't it got any masts? They were designed to be demasted. It never came into the museum down there where quails, the smuggling, etc. It would always drop its masts and come in, so why can't they do something similar? And where is this price coming from, 6.1 million, when the government are crying poverty?
I have some sympathy for Manx National Heritage because they've got this on their books now and something has to be done with it. And as you say, she is fairly unique and certainly unique to the Isle of Man, and she's got lots and lots of history. So, the people in Heritage will say, look, if we do this properly, it adds to the visitor attractions. And of course, you and I don't know. We're lay people. We don't know how much it costs to restore a vessel. You can hazard a guess, but we don't know where all the cost comes in. Connie Lovell has called on the government to confirm the government would spend £3 million on plans to redevelop the Nautical Museum in Castletown, and she reckons, this is all part. They want 500,000 visitors here, Howard. So we've got to have something notable for people to see, and this is a bit of it. Now, how much? I mean, how much how much of all this is mission creep? We don't know because we don't know what's behind all this. But obviously, Manx National Heritage are always going to it's their job to big up what they do. So.
Oh, yes. Well, they've got a warehouse down there at Balfane, and it used to be Eldon Fabrics, and I think they're still using it because of the air conditioning, etc., the humidity in there, etc. But there's tens of thousands of items all through the system that's not going to be viewed by anybody.
Yeah.
You're not allowed in there, you can't see these things, and the Peggy is going to be another white elephant in a sense, because it'll disappear and you'll be allowed to see it for a couple of hours a day and that'll be it. But I can't understand where the money, the 6.1 million, which is only an assumption at the moment, it could be a damn sight more than that. I wouldn't be surprised the way the government works and the pricing that the consultants that they use, we're not going to be talking 10 million. And that's a serious amount of money again when they can't afford it. They took £1 million out of the promenade. So one of our unique heritage items, the horse trams, are only running halfway.
And also, I'll be honest with you, Howard, I've had quite a bit of correspondence in the past couple of weeks about Manx National Heritage, including the state of the House of Manannan, the amount of things that aren't working in the House of Manannan, the toilets that aren't working in some places, the fact that some places are closed. So it's obvious. Manx National Heritage have always said their most important thing is people. At the moment, they have to, it all has to be staffed. But at the moment, it just seems to be, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe it seems to be going backwards at the moment.
Well, it hit the brick wall a while ago, and there were people within the group on Manx National Heritage who had an agenda in life, and anything else outside that agenda was, sorry, but we can't do that. And this is what's happened. It's a bit like when they had the DOI. Now, since certain members of the DOI have disappeared into the ether, I've never seen so much work getting done on the roads, and that's with their own men. So the machinery must have been there. So the same applies to MNH. Are they just looking for money's sake, or they throw this thing at it? You want 500,000 people to come here. So this is another one that it beggars belief that they're looking for that sort of money when the government and the people of the island are struggling.
Yeah, well, times are tough, there's no doubt about it. But, I mean, Manx National Heritage it's in the visitor attraction business, isn't it? I mean, it's a heritage organisation, but it's there to attract visitors, isn't it?
Yeah, but you've also got this thing for the review on the Manx National Heritage. Are they going to privatise the railways, like the steam packet? Have they had a brilliant idea? We'll run at arm's length. We'll interfere from a distance. And, they're wanting X number of pounds for this. And the review, the questionnaire, it only amounted to about a page and a bit. And they're about 6 or 7 pages. I downloaded and printed it. And most of that is all connected with the DOI, the structure of the DOI, and how they're going to move things around and put extra managers in. So that's the rest of the review that's going. The review on the railways just hides that fact. So there they are looking to review on the national heritage, and somebody on the other corner shouting for 6 million. Oh, they are talking to one another.
Well, and there are we in the middle, and not only, I mentioned that, M&H's visitor attractions also includes everybody who's on the island. And in terms of the heritage railways, of course, people with it's a silver card, don't they, get on the railways free. So that's an amenity for people on the island.
Well, I don't think you get on free. I've got a wrinkly card, and we were hoping to get out this week, but other things have come up, on the railway, and I can't remember. I think it's half price, right. But even that's cheap. And the fact that it's here and still running is a credit to certain members of the Manannan and the railways.
Yeah.
And if the government had their way, it would have been scrapped years ago. And now we would have had nothing. And now they're doing this review. Okay, it's counter my argument on the 6 million. But the museum, Manx National Heritage, it's a license to waste money.
In what way?
Well, they can shout out and blame if we've got to have this. If you, the government, want to attract an extra 500,000 or up to 500,000, well, you're going to have to do something about it, and we want the money to do it. It's a veiled threat.
Yeah, they'd call it a bargaining chip, I think, Howard.
No, well, that's one word, but a veiled threat is another.
Okay.
And, a bargaining chip. Yeah. We all have them. But when they come in with a statement like, if you don't do it, then, it's all going to collapse like a pack of dominoes. But the Peggy, as she is, she's apparently, I haven't seen it, it's supposed to be up in a warehouse up in the cool. But as far as I can ever remember, she never had the masts fitted. It might have been in situ in the museum, but that's where she should be, down in the museum, because that's where she lived, and that's where they found her, not in some fancy building that's going to cost a fortune.
Okay. All right,
okay.
Howard. I appreciate that.
Care.
Thanks for
Bye
calling
now.
today. Treasury says any extra capital expenditure needs to be carefully considered against other public spending requirements. This statement from Treasury comes after the Director of Manx National Heritage, Connie Lovell, called on government to confirm it would spend about $3 million on plans to redevelop the Nautical Museum in Castletown. Connie Lovell says the project will aid the government's plan to increase visitor numbers by to 500,000 by 2032. Treasury says with numerous cost pressures on government finances, extra spending would require ceasing other projects, i.e. one out, one in. We'll see. And when did you last see the Peggy? I just wonder, when was the last time the Peggy was on view? Juan's on now. Hi, Juan.
Are you buying the ice creams tomorrow, Andy?
I possibly might do. It just depends. Depends whether I can raid the petty cash.
If not, Tony Palmer says he'll buy them. I'm sure he said to me last week that Tony said he'll buy them tomorrow.
Oh, my word. With those white fivers.
The white fibres, yes, that's the ones. He'll curse me tomorrow now. The show feels nice and dry anyway. I was down there yesterday. It's nice and dry. So it looks like it's going to be good underfoot for people to go down. And it was nice to see a coach pulling up there yesterday at the Knockalo Visitor Centre.
It does really well, that. I have to say, in terms of what they call it, ancestry tourism, lots of people. And I think the old internment camps are turning out to be one of our big tourist attractions.
It is. And I had a friend stay with me last week who's a long-time Newcastle councillor, and after having a laugh and a talk about the Liverpool landing stage, we were talking about the heritage system here, and he was impressed on how good the bus livery here is, and how good the steam and electric tram railway stations are, and the track, especially, said the track looks really good condition, and I think that the price point for getting around on the heritage system he was well impressed with. But he was saying about, could the track actually be used in the winter time because it's in such good state, to put on like modern carriages in the winter to effectively bring people into town and back home again.
Well, you would think so, because that's the whole point, is that we do have heritage rolling stock, but the tram tracks are state of the art. They have to be state of the art for to be get the license and to get the tick for the certificate.
Yeah, and in this nice, brave new world that we're facing with the green agenda, maybe that should be something that they're looking at there. And I noticed there the point you were bringing up about the house in Manannan, and you had quite a few calls, and I think I've been on the programme twice about that in the last couple of years, about the condition of the house in Manannan, and it was a state-of-the-art venture. I think when was it Stephen Harrison?
It was, yes.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a mover and shaker because there was so much got done in that period of time.
Well, I think, it's well known Mr. Harrison was a bit of a force of nature. He didn't take no for an answer, but then again, in those days, money was no object. We had tons of money.
But that what I'm noticing, I go around the sites quite a lot. I haven't been much this year as what I have done in previous years, but just a lack of TLC. And I notice from the staff say their directives have not been as good now. I know there's a new person came in last year, so hopefully they'll do something. But I just noticed that things in Castle Rushen were quite tired. Things that didn't take a lot of money to put right, just TLC. And I think they went through a phase there where they took out a lot of artefacts and replaced them with timeline boards, which is the modern way of going through these places now. But all the artefacts seemingly are being stored somewhere in a warehouse. Now, there's a lot of places, like you said, in the house in Manannan, that stuff is broken, it's been taken away, there's empty rooms. I don't understand why that stuff that's being stored and the timeline's replaced, why is that not being put back into the house in Manannan and used there? Because they've actually got the stuff. All it needs is the room redoing and putting back out. I don't understand why artefacts are left in storage when they could be out on view, and very little cost put into this. Just a little bit of TLC. And I think the people that work there know this, but it's the people on the next level up. They don't seem to be doing that.
Well, as I mentioned, Manx National Heritage is in the business of attracting visitors. Without any visitors, it would be pointless doing what they do. But for that to work, everything has to be ship-shape, Bristol fashion. It has to look good.
Absolutely, and it's just like the tapestries on the walls at Castle Rushen just they're getting they've been threadbare for a couple of years on the sides, and the carpets in the corners, and that's from dampness and stuff. So just little things like pulling this stuff back and letting it dry out in the winter periods, and all them little tiny bits and pieces of stuff which I think it could be just could be looked at without a lot of money spending on it. Like Howard was saying there, the justification of spending that kind of money. It takes a lot of justification to do that when a group of dedicated people could do stuff for a lot cheaper, just tidying it up. Going off that subject, my main thing, as if by magic, bush bosh, we had a statement from the Department over the sex education.
There it was.
There it was. Is that the power of the Mannin Line, do you think, or the power of the people talking, or a couple of members actually got on board with it, and all of a sudden it appeared? So, from that, Andy, did I make out that there was going to be no changes to what they were teaching? Is that what I made out there?
No, they came out with all sorts of... It's not going to happen until next year, anyway. It's happening, I think, in the spring term next year. Sex education classes resume early 2024. And this executive summary said there's going to be improved communication between schools and families to enable parents and carers to make informed decisions. A smaller group of teachers should be encouraged to specialise in the subject of RSE. The contents of the curriculum is age appropriate, and organisational structure will be considered to reflect the significance of PHSE, personal, social and health education, and give it equality with other subjects.
That's that nice little equality word coming in again. So quite open, really. There was a bit. It hasn't really give any definition, have we? It's just a lot of words, but no definition.
Well, I think it's as broad as it is long, isn't it? I mean, it depends. Improved communication between schools and families to enable parents and carers to make informed decisions. I don't quite know what that means.
Exactly my point. And I think parents really need to be asking the questions now of what are you teaching our children? I mean, governments seem to be taking responsibility for children away from the parents, which is that's not a good sign in socialism and communism moves, distancing your kids away from you. So I think parents need to take on board now and ask the questions, what are you teaching our children here? Because there's 11-year-olds that are 11-year-olds. They want to be 11-year-olds. And some of the stuff that they're teaching in there is not appropriate. I don't care what anyone says. I don't think it's appropriate. And I've said before, acceptance and promotion is a very fine line. And promotion is a fantastic thing for some places. Acceptance is great. Promotion, at the end of the day, and I just put an analysis there. If an 11-year-old still wants to be an 11-year-old girl and wants to go and buy a Barbie doll, they don't want to buy a Barbie doll with a skin graft in its arm and a detachable penis. They want to be an 11-year-old. I've
not seen one in the shops, put it that way.
Yeah, it won't be long before they're coming.
Okay.
I think parents should be pushing back. Cheers, Andy.
Got to go. Thanks for that, June. David's with us now. Hi, David.
It'll be worth a fortune if you had one anyway.
Yeah, right.
Can I go to the House of Manannan? And my experience of the House of Manannan, and not to defend the museum, they can do that themselves, is they're always themed, aren't they? When you look at the original concept of the House of Manannan, it was a story of man,
yes,
how it came about, how we existed, how we moved on to the fishing industry, what our tourism was. And the saddest thing ever now, but we own the steam packet now, don't we, Andy?
We do.
So we can't even, it's still, I haven't visited for a little while, but when I did visit, my grandson couldn't even steer the steam packet boat. It was a bit of animation that came up on an old screen. But now you think we own the steam packet and we're getting money back from them. We don't know how much money we're getting. But do you think they would, or their main directors now would say, let's put a bit of money back into the House of Manannan and revamp the steam packet period? All them ships, all them, the new ships, the very slim vessels and all that.
It will be. The thing is with the House of Manannan, it's one of those things. If it were an old building, it would look kind of okay, but because it was brand new at the time, because it was state of the art, and all the voice, Anthony Quayle and stuff like that, it sounded fantastic, and the smell of the kippers. The trouble is that ages, doesn't it?
It does, but I mean, for people who, like you say. And I'm not speaking for them, for House of Manannan or the directors there, but there is stuff that's in that warehouse. I remember going to it years ago. I got a privileged view of going around it. People donate stuff, pitches and stuff like that. It is an air-conditioned unit, as far as I know. It's still going that way. And it was Eildon Fabrics originally, and they bought that at a fairly good price. But some elements that's probably there probably wouldn't fit into that particular surrounding in the House of Manannan. But I wanted to flip to tourism and looking at the state of the Isle of Man. I think we need to have I was cruising up and down the prom. I wasn't cruising as such, but just going up and down the prom there. Do you know the grass verge on the outside that if we ever get the horse cars to run on the track down the edge, why can't the government or the department, it's DOI or maybe it's the council, cut the grass? Why are we having a foot, 8 inches of grass patches and stuff like that when you're coming into our... Do you remember the politician who lives in Ramsey, give you a clue, who said, when you come to the Isle of Man, what's the window? Alan Bale, I'll tell you.
Yep.
Remember all the time he said, the airport is one, and the other one, the main window coming in to show what the Isle of Man's like or what we're up to, is the promenade, the sea terminal and all that. And it's a shambles.
Well, somebody's made a decision about not cutting that. As in also, I mean, some of the Douglas Corporation gardens, the sunken gardens, some are fantastic, and some look like well, I don't know what they look like, but there are places in the north, in the Currachs, that look better than some of the sunken gardens. Yeah.
Can I ask too about the people know regarding Cushigs? Have you looked at all the hedges on the roadside verges, school areas where the one up at Betmaker School there, the hedge going down there is full of Cushigs, bright yellow. When they go white, what happens to the seeds?
What happens?
It goes everywhere.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And they germinate somewhere else, and we're going to have a see. Last year, I encouraged people to cut them, and I think they did. And certain areas are now are not that prevalent. And with the giant hogweeds as well, which can harm children, and they're not aware of that. But my last bit on that is regarding the council not knowing that the consultation. The memo from Jeff Robinson is quite clear to all local authorities. Wouldn't you say that they would have got one? It might be asked maybe Jeff Robinson. I'm still waiting for a call from Jeff if he's listening. To find out certain things about that. And why, Andy, and I'll give you a question here, why should I have to put my minibus, I've got a 15-seat minibus, it's not big, it's off the highway, I widen my drive to do it, and I use it for charitable purposes. So why do I have to have my vehicle tested every November and expend about 50 quid to do that? I don't mind it because it makes sure that the vehicle is up to speed and okay. But if you've got a camper van, I'm not getting at all the camper vans, but I still haven't had an issue from the vehicle testing centre when I asked them the question on a tape machine. That's nearly a week ago now. Can you tell me what the regulations are to get a camper van retested, or should we not include something that says you've got to have a habitation certificate before you actually get a new badge?
Okay. All right, David.
See you, boy.
Good to hear from you.
When you save a little money, it means a lot these days.
If you're looking for bathrooms and tiles, you'll always find something new in store at Pacesetter. For surprisingly affordable prices and excellent choice, search online for Pacesetter Douglas. Or better still, visit the Pacesetter Bathroom and Tile Showroom on Harris Terrace and see the new styles in store.
You can get the best of everything, where the price is twice as nice.
At ShopRite, a big slice of our range is continually priced to match or better other supermarkets. We call it Price Match Plus, the plus being what others simply don't match. Like ShopRite Savers, low prices, choice and value you won't get elsewhere, with brands like Sainsbury's and no need to travel miles. Plus, the difference being locally owned makes. We're loyal supporters of local food producers and businesses and benefit the Manx economy directly. ShopRite, proudly locally owned.
Every drop is precious. Water. So easy to take it for granted, isn't it? Our reservoirs supply the needs of our island, but with the effects of climate change, that's becoming more challenging every year. Manx water is the only water we have, so we need to make every drop count by using it wisely, at home, in the garden and in general. Visit manxutilities.im to find out how you can begin smarter living, to lower energy bills and reduce your impact on our island environment.
We are number one, we are family run. Mike's Motors, Mike's Motors.
All the nice motors are at Mike's Motors. From cars you can cruise in to motorhomes you can all snooze in. Whether you want to plug it in overnight or plug through muddy fields all day, no one has a better selection of quality used motors. So come and see why Mike's Motors are better by miles.
Mike's Motors.
Call 823-200. Click mikesmotors.im.
Join us from Friday, August the 11th to Monday, August the 14th for our annual fundraiser.
Following our successful crowdfunder, we're aiming to raise additional funds to get Ross Revenge into dry dock and to maintain and expand our broadcast operations.
We're live from the Ross Revenge, and as usual we'll bring you the best music from the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, and the entire weekend is sponsored by Feature Story News. Join us this Friday from 9am on 648 1368 and DAB across the Isle of Man.
Radio Caroline North. Pure nostalgia with Manx Radio. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
22 minutes before 1. Wolf's on now. Hi, Wolf.
Hi. I think I might have some good news for everybody.
Oh, great.
But it's one of those things, if it's lies, I'm telling you, it's lies I was told. We had a meeting last night with our two at MHKs, and we were assured that Cummal Mooar will not be knocked down, or people took out of it, till the new one is built. They assured us of that. And the new one is going to be built more or less alongside of it.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yes. Behind us, it's going to be built on the site of Cummal Mooar. But I wouldn't hold my breath over that, and so if you can believe them, well, that's up to you. But that's what we were told.
And any sort of timetable, Wolf?
Well, no.
Not two years or something like that?
That's good news, I hope, anyway.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, that's fantastic news.
Yeah, well, anyway, there was something I was told as well, which kind of, I don't know what to make of it, really. I was told there was bats in there, in Cummal Mooar.
Bats?
So, yeah, bats. There's bats living in there. But the thing is, I thought, well, they're protected species, supposed to be. So what do? You catch them all, put them in a bag, and then keep them until the new one's built, and then let them go in the new one. I don't know how you work that.
You can't move bats. I mean, where did the bats hang out in Ramsey?
I have no idea. I was only told last night that there was bats in there.
Are there any bats along the river?
Oh, dozens of them, hundreds of them. Yeah, our river is still fairly clean, you see.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other bit of good news. Ramsey is throwing out this nonsense about large vehicles. We're not going for it. We're going to leave it as is.
Right.
So I think I've always thought that there was a school for politicians where they go to learn to tell you nothing. Is there another one where they go for stupidity? I don't know. Because that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. That would even stop new vehicles getting bought. It's absolutely crazy. But anyway, that's all I got to say. Apart from, Howard is dead right, and the Peggy should be put back where it came from.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for calling.
All right.
Today's edition of Good News from the north of the Isle of Man. Oh, Bonzo's with us now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hi there, yeah. Coming back to, well, it was very fortuitous that Wilf was just mentioning the Peggy, because I was about to respond to Howard and others on the Peggy. First of all, I think to be fair to Manx National Heritage, 6.1 million isn't what they've asked the Treasury for. Right? This is a concept called matched funding. Yeah, where they raise half the money for something and the government pays the other half. So what they're actually asking for is something like 3 million.
Right.
And that would be 3 million that's phased over time. The reason that they're wanting, obviously the signatures on this and committing to that phased expenditure, as I say, not 3 million right now, but something that commits to actually make that expenditure over time, is so that they can sign contracts with people for construction. Yeah, and the architectural work, and previous works. And that then gives them a basis to raise the money, the rest of the money privately. However, in the current climate, even asking for a commitment of 3 million quid over 3 or 4 years, as I've said on social media, the reply will doubtless be from Treasury, which part of no, in very big letters, don't you understand? So I think some kind of interim solution until such time as funds become available in order to make the more grand design possible. That would be, yes, to put the Peggy back where it is, without its masts up. Make some improvements to the environment, so it's not quite as sort of damp and everything as I believe it was. And we'll revisit it in 3 or 4 years' time. But just at the moment, I think asking central government really for anything is going to be a really big ask. And that sort of leads me on to the wind turbines, just apropos of that, because those are supposed to be being funded by the MUA. And how they're going to get approval to spend 30 or 40 million pounds in the current environment, I just don't know.
Well, the money's got to come from somewhere, hasn't it?
Yeah, but how and where? I mean, we have this 158 million, but 160 million is just rounded up structural deficit. So, we've got to, even before we start sort of accounting for inflation or anything, we've got to find another 160 million a year to plug the hole. And so essentially what we need is another 200 million plus next year. Just to be able to keep going, unless we draw heavily in on the reserves, or indeed use things like the National Insurance Fund.
I mean, is it time to kind of reassess the national psyche, Bonzo? Because remember in the years of plenty when the new hospital, the power station, the incinerator, Iris, the gas interconnector, the electricity interconnector, when we couldn't stop just doing structural projects, we couldn't stop doing infrastructure because we seem to have the money. And now, do you think we've still got that mindset left over that we think we can afford everything?
Well, I think there was a certain amount of those things needed doing, very much so, and so thank God the money was there because it had to be spent. But I think that there was a certain amount of shut up and take my money going on, with people thinking, oh, actually, we've got some, now why don't we have this? This would be a nice thing to have. Oh, how much does it cost? Yeah, no problem. Go, here's 10 million, 20 million quid. But now, of course, those things have come home to roost. It's like the traditional things of Department of Health, now Manx Care, going back to Tynwald and asking for 10 or 15 million quid because they're short of 10, 15 million quid. They've been short of 10 or 15 million quid for the past decade. So that shows you that it's what's termed a structural deficit. It's a question of not having enough revenue in order to fund the expenditure. And the thing about revenue is that, well, it's not as if it's not available to the Treasury. It's just that we, have as an article of faith, not taken that revenue because we've not taxed those who are capable of contributing those kind of sums properly.
We'll see, because at the moment, everything just seems to be up in the air, Bonzo. Everything is, people are just rolling their eyes when it comes to committing to the future. And as I say, years ago, everything seemed to be certain. The governments of the 1980s got. I remember we nearly went bust in 1984, and we got out of that. And maybe we have, a generation of politicians who never knew the bad times. Well,
of course, 20 years ago or so, we could always rely on the VAT check coming in every month.
Ah, yes.
On a nice big fat VAT check.
Ah, the VAT, yes.
But now, of course, the UK government, after the crash, kind of got wise to the fact that we were double dipping a bit, and they're playing the system. So they said, fine, we want that back, and unilaterally renegotiated the shared purse as it then was, FIRSA as is now. So the thing is, this is a bullet that's going to have to be bit. And, for those who, have done very well, thank you very much, out of the Manx economy, it's going to be time for them to put something back.
Okay. All right. Bonzo, thanks for calling.
Okay, then, cheers. Bye.
Good to hear from you. 13 minutes before 1. Manx National Heritage, I think, didn't they do some open days at the House of Manannan and Peel? I think there was one at Castletown Civic Centre. I'm trying to remember the project team doing is it Danet Johnson, I think, who are doing this? Anyway, hopefully we'll get Connie Lovell from Manx National Heritage on. She's spoken to the news team fairly recently, and we'll get Connie onto Mannin Line just to talk about where Manx National Heritage heads for the future. It has to be said, in the midst of any doom and gloom you may hear, this is something that is happening absolutely everywhere else. So I wouldn't get disappointed about it. It's not just us.
You get more than you think, but all that you need when you
shop local with EVF.
Because your local EVF filling station isn't just a place for fuel, it's where you can get delicious food to go. Chilled drinks, wines and beers, barbecue and summer essentials, from ice creams to surfboards, plus a great range of local products. Ellen Van in Fuels. Fill up, fuel up, and get all you need to go. Open till late.
Shop local with EVF.
Have you visited the new HSBC branch yet?
What new branch?
Their new branch on Strand Street. Super convenient location, enhanced facilities, and the staff was so welcoming.
Great. Banking made easy. I'll check it out.
Our Strand Street branch is now open, so pop in, say hello, and find out about our open days. HSBC, opening up a world of opportunity.
HSBC Bank PLC Isle of Man branch is regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority. Visit the HSBC website for terms and eligibility requirements.
Oh, problems with your spine and posture can have a serious effect on your quality of life, but a Line for Life spine clinic could help. If you're suffering from back pain, neck pain, headaches, their holistic scientific approach could find and treat the root cause of the problem for long-lasting relief. Touch A Line for Life now, or call 629 444. A Line for Life, the island's spine and posture clinic, here to make life better.
Ramsey Garden Centre opens 7 days a week for roses, shrubs, trees, perennials and an array of pond plants. Or if it's fire pits or solar lights, there's never been a better time to visit Ramsey Garden Centre.
At 6 o'clock this evening, you can join me, Fiona McCardle, for Shachley.
It's a book that Robert would have been very happy with, very proud of.
To have this first-hand account of this incident was very interesting. He was interested in the paranormal.
It's the biggest inter-Celtic festival in the whole world.
Selmut de rau Eisteddfod yin de Sachiau. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
This evening at 6, Shachley with me, Fiona McCardle.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
10 to 1 now. For £6 million, says Des, they could buy a new ship for that. I don't think that's the point with the Peggy. I think they're trying to recreate... Anyway, you know what I'm saying. I see, nice to see 3 new handrails on the steps down to Laxey Beach. Says Alex, it'd be fantastic if the public could actually get down to the sandy part of the beach. Many people can't make it over the stones. There is a short ramp. It'd be great if it actually continued down to the actual shore. It's only the beach, it's the only beach on the Isle of Man with no access for everybody, says Alex. Roger's on now. Hi, Roger.
Hi, Andy. Good afternoon. Just two things, please. One, about 20 minutes ago, the broadcasting from Manx FM on smart speaker and smart radio, it just cut off, and I get one word about every 30 seconds or 30, 45 seconds. It's either you or whoever's ringing in, and it's fine with the other island radio stations and UK station, everything. It's purely Manx FM. So.
Oh, sure. And this was how long ago?
About 12:30.
Okay.
It was. It just went off. I thought it was an internet problem, but no, it hasn't. Like I said, it's about every 30 seconds you could just hear literally a single word. So I know it's still tuned in.
Yeah. If anybody else has problems, please, if you can email us, then we'll just send that through to the people who take care of that side of it for us, and we can report that as a fault. You have to report it as a fault, apparently.
All right. Okay. My main question I rang in is regarding the Manxman, and I've looked at it a couple of times from afar. It looks, really good. But what I notice each time I look at it is I can only see 2 lifeboats on it, one on the port side, one on the starboard. And obviously there's got to be more than that somewhere. They wouldn't get the C certificate. But it just seems strange to me. And maybe I'm out of date with...
Well, it doesn't, just like the Manannan doesn't have lifeboats, what it has are these exit chutes, like the ones that come down from an aircraft. They have exit chutes, and they've got these massive kind of inflatable life rafts that you whiz down into, apparently.
Life rafts?
Yes.
So where are they stored then, Andy?
Well, they're inflatables. I think they just all come out, like a bag does, an inflatable bag that comes out on impact in a car. These things just, flirt out into the sea, and you jump in and go whizzing down into them, apparently.
Right,
We've seen them. We've seen them from Douglas Head. They've been doing trials with them in the harbour.
Okay. That's fine then. No. Obviously, they travelled from the other side of the world with that. That would have been their only escape route.
Well, as I say, it's the fact that there are no life rafts on any of the fast craft. They've got that sort of system as well.
Have they? Okay, thanks for correcting me. It was just something of concern for myself. Okay. Thank you very much, Andy.
All right, good to hear from you. Andy just dropped a note in. The government should spend the available money on reinstating the horse tram before giving extra money to Manx National Heritage. £6 million for the Peggy Museum could virtually rebuild the Queen's Pier in Ramsey, says Marie. The tramway is unique with approved funds. And not 6.1 million, so the tram should be completed, says John. Has nobody figured it out yet? The horse tram money was all spent on fancy stuff outside of the Sefton Hotel. I don't think it was exclusively there, but anyway, says Fred, it's common knowledge. If you've got that common knowledge, Fred, if you've got it written down for me somewhere, then please do send a link. We appreciate the skeet, though. Thank Howard, says text 820. He's so right, with so much maintenance getting done on the roads these days, including by excellent direct labour. And a message in from Clive who said, have you noticed how the airport's running perfectly fine now? Well, it does appear to be, doesn't it, since our new Minister for Infrastructure, Mr. Cannon, took over, and they've shifted around the air traffic controllers. There aren't many delays. If you've been to the presentation at the Civic Centre, you'll see the grandiose buildings, plans for this building. If M&H want this, we haven't requested this hugely expensive setup, so we won't be held over a barrel, says Ali. We must agree to pay half before the end of the year, or we'll be held responsible for the lack of progressing the project, says Ali. Is that true? Quality of food in cafes and how long they are open for is important for tourism. The NSC is an absolute model for how things should be, says Texter 185. Do you think, says Phil, there should be a public inquiry into how the wind farm locations were announced, blighting all properties within the affected zone? What compensation schemes are under discussion for property owners affected, and what about wider community payments? The case precedent was set by the government had to purchase the properties of Whitehoe with a pumping station, yes, with the vibrating curtains when they put the Irish pumping station, and those houses had to be purchased. Thank you, Phil, for that. And a message in also says, are you confident that these onshore wind farm proposals will actually reduce our carbon footprint? And do you think sacrificing the hen harriers and other red-listed protected species and the destruction of heath, peatland and carbon sequestering trees is a price worth paying? with the acknowledgement by the MUA that installation of wind farms may require the use of compulsory purchase powers, do you feel that current legislation protects the public from abuse? That's it for the open line today. Thanks to Howie Kane on the phones, and we'll see you tomorrow if you're going to be at the Royal Show. Claire Barber, MHK, the Minister for DEFA, Finlay McLeod's there from the Creameries, Rebecca Meir from the Isle of Man Meats, Bill Dale's going to be there, lots of other people. Maybe we'll see your face in the place tomorrow, live at Knockalo, the Mannin Line at the Agricultural Show.
WINT